Sons and daughters, colleagues, veterans will all have a part to play, to build, to serve, and if necessary, to fight.
There very much is a threat of war, especially from Russia. And I think we know that because they've been stepping up their aggression pretty spectacularly, especially in the last 6 months or so, by overflying planes and drones and being generally a really damaging and annoying nuisance. The chances of a direct military attack are still small, the conventional sort of war scenario, but they are there. The Chief Defence Staff gave a big speech just before Christmas, for example, and he put them up to 5%. And that seems small, but that's 1 in 20 of a direct military attack on the UK. The largest crowd-funded forecasting site, something called Metaculus, suggests that there's around a 16% chance of Russia attacking a direct NATO ally. And if that happens, because of the way NATO works, we would then be naturally obliged to be drawn in to any potential war to defend our NATO allies.
Putin should be in no doubt. Our support is enduring. The pressure we apply on Ukraine's behalf will be sustained.
But our undersea cables is another area which is seen to be very vulnerable. So cutting the cables that really we rely on for pretty much everyday life, minute by minute, communications, internet cables, power supplies, and they go all over the world. And we've seen a lot of belligerence very recently with the Russian spy ship, the Yantar, hovering over those very supply lines just a few miles off the UK coastlines, those undersea cables, to directly threaten us.
We know what they were doing, we tracked it every mile of the way, but it is Russia mapping, surveying, and in times of conflict with the capacity to sabotage critical pipes, networks that our country depends on.
Those sort of grey zones attack, that sort of sub-war level cyber attacks, for example, we're pretty well defended against because we're used to cyber attacks. We've got extremely good cyber defences.
Mastery of technology will infuse everything we do, not just in our labs, but in the field, in our tradecraft, and even more importantly, in the mindset of every officer.
Undersea cables, we're far less defended, and the Navy, the Royal Navy, are trying very, very hard to catch up on that by, for example, buying brand new undersea drones that can monitor our cables in a big hurry to try and keep up with this threat.
If we want to keep ahead of our adversaries, if we want to give our British Navy, with allies like the Norwegians, the edge on the battlefield, the edge on deterrence, then we have to combine the new technology to be able to track, to be able to find, and if necessary, to be able to respond to the threats that we may face in the future.
In an actual military war, though, from a direct military attack, we are hopelessly underprepared. For example, our anti-missile defences are pretty much non-existent. And if we were to enter into a direct conflict with Russia or anybody else, because over several years now, our supply chains and our stocks have been dwindled so heavily by defence cuts, really we would not be in the game at all after perhaps the first week or two of any war. And the feeling certainly seems to be is that Britain really has been very slow indeed to react to the changing threat environment. And that really, you could, I guess, start the clock from the Russian invasion of Ukraine in February 2022. That's the real wake-up call moment when the world changed and we realized that actually it was possible to have a full-scale, very ugly land war on European soil, the sort of thing we hadn't seen state on state, certainly, since the Second World War 80 years ago. Others reacted very quickly, the Germans, the Poles, the Estonians, Lithuanians in Eastern Europe, and the Scandinavian countries too. Britain, less so, perhaps because we're in denial, perhaps we don't think that the threat is as great, but if you calibrate how close a country is to Russia, how close it is to that threat, the more they are currently spending. The further away, the Italians, the Spanish, and also the Brits, the less we're spending. So geography does play quite a big part in it.